Everybody, it is another edition of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet presented by Going for Two Live. Tonight, we are talking about Dynasty Startup Drafts, but before that, let's get to a little bit of video, baby. What is up, everybody? Like I said, it is Dynasty Startup time. The draft is over. Let's introduce the guys and get straight into the show. Jamie and Reggie, what is going on? Jamie, how you doing today, dude?
Man, I'm doing great, and I love Dynasty Startup, so I'm excited for this episode.
Oh, I know. You and Dynasty in general. Get it going. It's Dynasty and best ball for you. Reggie, how are you doing? What is up, my man?
It's going fantastic. Anytime we can start the week on a short week and we closer to the weekend, call me happy. Everything burns.
Absolutely. So, like I said, it's Dynasty Startup time. We will be talking today. Our main topic is tips, strategies, just some comments about Dynasty Startups. At the end, we have our cheat of the week. But before that, it is time for the news, and I was going to skip the news today. About 11:30 a.m., there was no news. Before we got on today, I made a joke that hopefully someone wasn't snooping around right before the show, and the only reason I brought that up is because for some reason, I've been stumping Reggie with the news the last couple weeks. So I don't know if Reggie, does Reggie know the big piece of news that happened today? So let's find out. Nico Collins is a rich mofo. I love this, but I am shocked. So let me give the details, and then we'll go around the horn, and then we'll go from there. 3 years, $72.5 million, 50.5, I think, or 51 guaranteed. Quickly, let's go around the horn, and then we'll get into the details after that. First initial thoughts of the deal for the team, for Nico, however you want to spin it, Jamie.
Well, at first I thought it was a little too much. I don't think he really deserves all that money, but it just tells you that he's the future of that team.
And we'll get to that in a minute.
Putting their money where their mouth is. So
yep, that's exactly the point. And Reggie, what do you think, real quick?
Well, just real initially off bat, it smells a lot like Calvin Ridley's contract. I don't know the exact specifics, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. And I think he's going in his 25th year, and I think Ridley is in his 28, 29. I'm not mad at it.
All right, so I'm going to give a quick thought, and then we'll get into the details of the numbers. I had Jamie pull up some stats for me because I was really intrigued on this one. Stephon Diggs, you're a 1-year rental, boy. Like, literally. Like, this just proved it. And it's going to be Tank. It's going to be Nico. It's going to be CJ. Those are the three core. That's just the reality. You're not going to be able to afford what's – because to me, I don't know if you guys disagree. I know Jamie doesn't. But I don't know, Reggie. We just started talking a month and a half ago. I think Stephon Diggs is not a ring chaser. He's a bag chaser. And so I don't think he is going to stay and give them a less money contract to try to stay and win a ring with Houston. He's going to want the bag. That's just the type. Some guys are like that. That's fine. So I do think that Stephon Diggs is gone. We'll see what else happens. You said Ridley. You brought that up. Here is, and I saw Jamie's reaction when you said that name, and then I realized it because Jamie, I haven't took a big dive into it, but let's get into it. $52 million guarantee. Tyreek Hill, $52.5 million guaranteed. This is just guaranteed money. Currently in the NFL. Tyreek Hill has 52.5 guarantee. A.J. Brown, 51 guarantee, which means Nico is the second player in guaranteed money now at 52. Who is now number 4, Reggie? Who was
Calvin
3?
Calvin Ridley?
Yep. Calvin Ridley at 46.9. then DJ Moore at 41.6, then Devo at 41. And there's a bunches in the 40s. There you got Pittman, Judy, Amari, Godwin, Kirk. Okay. Out of those names, do any of those surprise you that he is above? I mean, do any of those surprise you? There's a lot that surprised me that he's above. But does he deserve to be over does he deserve to be over Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Debo, Pittman, Judy, Cooper, Godwin, and Kirk?
In my opinion, no.
Okay, let me ask you this before you go, Reggie. I have a quick question for you, Jamie. Because if I go into your bedroom right now, I know there's going to be a poster on the wall. So I'm going to ask you this straight up. Does he deserve more guaranteed money than your lover boy, Christian Kirk?
No. I mean, Kirk showed up. Like, Nico only had one good year so far, right?
Yeah. The question is, like we know, it's the progression. It's the next man up, next man up. But Reggie, what do you think about what the list I just gave?
I think it is a smart move on the Texans' part because they have this window with CJ Stroud. They're capitalizing right now and putting money in places where they're going to keep Tank Dell, Stroud, Nico Collins together with that guaranteed money at least 3 seasons. And then we're waiting for bigger contracts to drop. CD, Jefferson, T. Higgins, maybe all within the next calendar year. So if you get ahead of that, the market isn't being reset where now his agent's saying, I want this. So I think it's kind of a savvy thing to do before I think Ayuk wants the deal. When these other names start getting deals, the price goes up.
So the two names that I was going to bring up, and you're right, you brought up Ayuk. But that's not where I was going. It's funny that you brought up the star in the background because the two names I was going to bring up is C.D. frickin' Lamb and Justin, good old man Jefferson. Those two are the ones that are sitting there right now going, thank you, Houston. You just made me some extra dough. Here's the thing. I think we're going to have these two playing freaking tug of war all next offseason to try to wait for the other one and try to be the last one and just hold out one day longer than the next. Is it going to happen? I'm not sure. The other thing that's interesting is average salary, and this is another one that Jamie pulled up for me. There are only 6 guys in the NFL at wide receiver that are averaging more per year now than Nico Collins.
Nope.
Only 6.
And within the structure of the team, it's a good move. But for fantasy, with Diggs, with Tank Dell playing a full season, we're not going to get the same.
No.
Nico was the only show in town. Noah Brown, and then we had Dalton Schultz. Like
Mechie's in the background.
Right. So we're not going to get the same
move.
Nico.
No,
yeah, we're not going to get the same
an
Nico.
NFL move. This is an NFL move, a smart NFL move. And the last thing I'm going to say before we just turn and burn and get right into our main part of the show. The Houston Texans did something right again. They're on the way up. I'm shocked. They're fully out of his name who shall not be mentioned era, and they are on a new one with DeMeco Ryans, with freaking CJ Stroud. I can't remember their GM's name, but they are on the roll. That is really the only news that we've had in the past week. I was thinking we were going to skip the news, but it's time for class to be in session. Dynasty Startups. Before we get into the actual topics, quick question for the question of the day for the crew. I'm going to start with Reggie only because Reggie already kind of gave me the info in a text, not realizing that I was actually planning on asking it. How many startups, not dynasty leagues, Jamie, because that number is in the 3 digits. How many startups do you plan on being this offseason? And if you've already started, how are they going in general? And then if you want to tie your leagues into your topics later, go ahead. Reggie, I already know the answer.
This year, I think since January, I've drafted 6 startups. 6 startups just in this calendar year. And the last 2 were after the NFL draft, and the last one did not go very well.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that in text. So that's one. I knew that was what I was hoping you were going to say. The reason I wanted Reggie to say it didn't go well is, even though we're giving you advice, we all make mistakes. It's not always cookie cutter just because we're on a podcast giving advice. Jamie, same question.
Yeah, no, I'm in the middle of one right now. I don't plan on starting any more this year unless it's going to be a Dynasty best ball, because I just can't start and sit every single week. I already got 30 leagues I got to do that in. So like right now, I think I'm in the 11th round of mine. I started off a little too young. My first 3 picks, I looked, and I was just going off my values. And I'm looking, I'm like, I only got 2 full quarters of production, or like 2 full games, really. Because I started with Marvin Harrison, and then I went Anthony Richardson, and then came back with Neighbors.
Okay.
So 2 rookies that haven't even played.
Yeah. So for me, I might join one, or probably one. If I join another one, there is a chance. But the big one, I'm in a charity dynasty league through Dynasty Nerds. It's multiple 12-man leagues, and then in the playoffs it joins in. But we might be switching platforms. We don't know. We might not be switching. Even if we don't switch platforms, they just changing things around. So we might just throw all the names back in the hat, distribute all 12 back out, and start it back up. And if that happens, I'm counting that as my startup. But like you said, Jamie, that was a Dynasty best ball for me too, so I don't have to worry. I'm probably going to get one manual, but hopefully not too much, because like you said, Jamie, I'm not in as many as you, but doing probably 5 or 6 charity redrafts plus all my dynasties plus my home leagues. It gets a little much. It adds up. All right, let's get straight into it. Let me look at the show sheet so I'm making sure that I'm saying this right. All right. So every league is different. You have 1 quarterback, 2 quarterbacks, start 10, start 11, start 12 IDP. So Jamie, with me saying that, this might be the number one, just biggest tip in bold for any newcomer and anyone that's in so many leagues, that there's a lot of settings, different settings. Give it away.
Yeah, you definitely have to find the right league for you. Don't just jump into the first one that you find. Like Dynasty means forever, so just find one that best fits your needs. Like you got to check the league settings, the rules, roster construction. Do that before the draft, because I've had so many people after the first couple rounds just be like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was tight end premium." Even had someone, they didn't know it was a 3rd round reversal, and they're at the 212, and they're like, "Oh, I wouldn't have picked that guy." Well, it's in the rules, and make sure you have bylaws set up. Also, I always like to make sure people pay a year in advance, because that's something that will keep that league going. Less chance of folding, less chance of people leaving, and it's easier to find a orphan owner if the year's already paid for. So just make sure you see if there's any 40+ yard bonuses, first down bonuses, because that can make a difference in your rankings also. Oh, and another one, Taxi Squad. Check your Taxi Squad eligibility. Make sure if it's a 1 year, 2 year, if only rookies can go in there, because if only rookies can be placed in your Taxi Squad and you're in the middle of your startup, you don't draft any rookies, you're going to have to drop 4 or 5 players at the end of your draft, and that's a waste of picks right there.
Yeah, Reggie.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Man,
you off of what
you nailed so much. The fantasy landscape has changed as far as the quality of commissioners and players. We used to have a problem in the space with people controlling multiple teams, but good commissioners with software and pay attention to detail can kind of get away from that, and playing within your community and people you know and like-minded people all work as a team to try to avoid that. The new monster is people playing Dynasty like redraft, going all in, using all their assets, and winning or not leaving after the first year. That is their whole purpose. Some do it. I've seen it the most in this last season happen in multiple different leagues, and that's just come from having a filter. Not only if you're looking to fill a league with people, if you're joining leagues, have some things that, like, say for instance, he said a taxi squad, 1 year eligibility. Maybe you like 2 years. If it don't have it, just keep looking for another one. There's something for everybody. There's no right or wrong way to play it. You struck a nerve, because I'm trying to join leagues. There's no bylaws, nothing pinned. If I say something about it, now I'm irritative. There's nothing said about payouts. There's no communication. There's no information. And it's kind of like upsetting to see so many people just jumping in and not putting any effort in and thinking being a commissioner, a quality commissioner with integrity, comes easy. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're
man.
No, you're good. I will say one of the things, and I've turned. I mean, Jamie, I think you know this. The amount of people that me and you know, and the leagues that I turn down. I turn down more leagues every year than some people join in their lifetime. I've already turned down 3 Dynasty Startups since the NFL draft, and I said I wasn't going to do any until at least June, so I've kept my word on that. But one of the reasons that I did for 2 of them, I will go up to a 14-team league. I've done it. I'll keep doing 14. I only have 114, but I'll go up to 14. I got invited to a 16-team league. But there's one issue with the 16-team league that I said no thank you to, and this is why 14 is my max. I am done with 1 QB leagues, no matter freaking what. I do not care. Like you said, like you brought it up, Jamie, if it doesn't fit for you, it doesn't fit for you. Yeah. Just like you said, Reggie, if you really want to have a 2-year freaking taxi squad, which I prefer, but it's not a deal breaker, but I do prefer it. But after joining 2 Superflex, after never playing Superflex, I can't go back. Superflex is the only way and that's why I'm the 14-team league I'm in. It is Superflex 14 team. It is shallow rosters, but quarterback. Last year, man, I was starting Tommy DeVito every game that mofo played in. Let's go. I mean, that just shows you a 14-team Superflex. But that's a burner. That's a key point. I know a lot of guys from a site that I work with. If it's not tight end premium, they're out. Like, that's their deal breaker. There's deal breakers where, like, another deal breaker for me, it's 3 wide out. I don't like the 2-2, like the ones that are 2-2 and then like an extra flex to make up for that third wide out. I'd rather have 2-3-1 than 2-2. I'd rather have 2 running backs, 3 wide out, and 1 flex if it's gonna be a shorter roster than 2-2-2.
Yeah, in my best ball one I'm doing, it's 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 1 running back, 1 receiver. Then it has like 5 flexes and super flex.
So I'm in a league like that. Yeah, I'm in a league like that. It's also different when it's best ball because it helps stretch everything out. I'm in a rosterable like that, but I think it ends up being like start 11. I mean, it's like 6 flex, I think. And there's some IDP to it. So, I mean, it changes that up. But we'll get to another thing about that.
That charity league that you mentioned, that is like multiple leagues tied together and you play within your league and then it's like a tournament style. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, that's called a satellite league. I came across that a couple of years ago. That platform.
It can be. It can
be.
Okay.
All right.
I know that's
a tournament too, right?
Yeah, it's more of a tournament league.
Got you.
But it's all for the same chair. Everyone, it's just a charitable thing. So Jamie, I'm glad you put that number one, because if you didn't put that one and I saw it on your thing, I was having you move it up.
Yeah, that was a good start.
So
That's the whole episode. That
Yeah,
is
we're done.
literally a
No, it
whole
is, yeah.
episode right there.
So another thing another deal, and I'm glad this got put in at the exact same time, because this is a deal breaker for me, and I can tell, like I mentioned earlier, I haven't known him for very long, but I know what I'm about to say is a deal breaker for all three of us. Another deal breaker for me in Dynasty, and then I'm going to lead right into you, Reggie. I'm not talking just startups. I'm talking league in general. If it's an inactive trading league, I do not want to be involved. So where Reggie said you got to vet your league and check, if you know, guys, ask, make sure it's going to be an active league, because the worst kind of league you can be in Dynasty, because it ends up just being a redraft that everyone just picks up on the waiver wire players if no one's willing to trade. I'm in a league where there's literally only three of us that kind of circle around, and every once in a while we get another one in, but it's with a friend from high school, so I'm in it. Speaking of trading, Reggie, go.
So in a dynasty startup, I always had more. I'm a little split on the. I don't think how much you trade determines how active you are in a league and your contribution.
No.
Because I think for my very first 10 years, I made 10 trades. I'm just a horrible trader. I get attached to my players. I make trades that help both teams, and just the climate of how people trade, I'm just built different. So it's really hard to get a deal done with me.
My
Everybody
point is,
wants to win.
It's the people that don't even try.
Yeah.
Like,
I
if
think
you're not even willing to discuss, don't, like, that's my issue.
not answering, leaving on red, or no counter, no kind of inclination, or I'm not looking for a wide receiver. Yes, that sucks. No communication whatsoever. And there's some people in the offseason, and it's starting to burn me up. You have to track down, say, hey, check your messages. This person's trying to get to you. Or they delete the app from their phone. Go play redraft. Lead us to the big boys. No, respectfully, because that's inactivity. That there's just a dead team, not communicating, not even saying no, thank you, thanks for the offer. It's just dead. That is a problem. But
so what do you think about trading in startups?
In trading in startups, I think it's always better to try to trade down and get multiple swings to get a player. Like anytime you trade up, you're trying to pull off your build or do something within your build, or maybe you want a specific player. That player can get expensive on the up, but if you plan ahead and try to get near that ADP or around where you feel comfortable, even if it's on a reach, just to get closer, to get another swing, it's just more feasible to go down, in my opinion, in a startup than it is to go up.
Oh,
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with that.
Go ahead, Jamie, because I already know your answer.
Well, yeah, I usually try to trade down for multiple players, but there are some times where if I'm looking at the board and I see a player that I value extremely high and he keeps falling, I'll try to move up a few spots just to get that guy. For example, Waddle kept falling in my current draft, and he went like 3 picks in front of me, but I had him slotted like a whole round ahead of that. So I tried to trade up for him, but couldn't get a deal done.
Yeah, so for me, I agree with you 100%. Actually, I agree with both of you. I mean, I don't think it's on the show sheet, so let me look really quick.
But yeah, usually when I'm trading up, I only trade up for a pick that's already been taken that I know that I want, because I don't want to miss out on someone.
Yeah, I mean, move up and get your guy. I mean, that's 100%.
Right.
But I know that's what you're saying, Jamie. That was your guy. You're looking at that. That's what you want. But in general, there are those people that move up in startups all the time.
Yes.
That is not a persistent. You're not going to be able to do that in startup after startup and startup and win and win and win, because if you keep moving up, one, you're either losing out on assets, or sometimes you're moving up to get a certain type of player, aka veteran, that can get you to the chip. Because you see that sometimes. but you're losing out on multiple shots that can help you 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Because if you're playing Dynasty right, which we'll get to later, there's a couple of things coming up about that. You're not thinking this year, you're thinking this year plus the next 2. And that is the thing with trades, is you can pick up extra assets. Even if your asset might not be an A performance this year, that can turn into something later if you throw an extra late pick in that and then you draft Malik Washington, Jamie, and you just, you're able to get a guy like that later, and then, like you said, put him on your taxi and you're golden. So yes, Reggie, you're 100% right. But there are different ways to go about it, but your strategy is definitely one to look for. My first one is for Superflex. If this is a 1 QB, do not listen to me. Make sure that you get at least 2, preferably 3 QBs that are starters in the NFL. I've seen it too many times in startups. You don't get enough starters. If you end up getting more than 3, good for you. I've seen it. I saw someone in a mock end up having 5 guys because the value fell and they just went with it, which we'll get to in a second. But when you go to getting QBs, there are different ways to go about it. You can wait and get 2 mid guys later. There's the hero version where you get 1 guy straight up and then you wait a little bit and get a mid. I mean, Jamie, where is Jordan Love going around? 10 to 14 right now?
For what? Like what round?
QB? No, just QB.
Oh, QB. Yeah, I would say, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He went 9th overall in this one, but I have him around 10th, 11th, maybe.
Well, last year he was going 15 to 20. Mm-hmm. My point is, if you get a guy, like say you go in last year, you got
Kyler Murray was going late.
But okay, let's use Kyler Murray last year. But like say right off the bat, you go to the jump and you get Josh Allen. And then you wait and you got Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's already appreciated in value. Mm-hmm. I will be honest. If you're in a startup with me, a majority of the time I am trying to get 2 stud quarterbacks on the top. A lot of times it doesn't work, but if I can pull, like, I know it's not looking great right now, but there was a draft a couple years ago when it was looking really freaking good. I ended up with Dak and Trevor Lawrence. And at the time, it looked like it was in my favor. It's kind of not backfired, but just not played as hard of a value. But the key thing is you do not want to be at the end of a quarterback run and be stuck with a Derek Carr as your RB2. Because your RB3, if Derek Carr is your RB2,
your QB,
you in trouble. You in trouble if Derek Carr your RB2.
If Derek Carr, you're in trouble if Derek Carr is your QB2. Because if Derek Carr is your QB2, Aiden O'Connell might be your QB3, and you don't want freaking Mr. Lookalike of Favre to be your QB3. So just make sure that you have, if Derek Carr's your QB3, that might not be horrible depending on your QB2, but you don't want a low-end QB in the 25, 28 range to be your QB2 in Superflex leagues for sure. So, yep. Jamie, what do you think about that real quick? We'll just do real quick.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's how I usually like drafting. I like to get at least 2 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds, 4 at the least, but if the board doesn't fall my way, though, I do pivot. Just like in my current one, I got my stud, Anthony Richardson. I got him as QB6. Got him on the board at QB8 off the board, so I thought that was good value. But then people just kept going quarterback heavy, so I had to wait. I waited a little bit too late, but I still got a top 20 guy in my eyes, and Bryce Young in round 7. So I thought that was a value because we talked about that before on shows that we think he can up his value, possibly be QB 15 next year.
You're not hearing any disagreement from me.
Yeah. So that's the only reason I kind of waited on that, or else I usually do go 2 quarterbacks in the first 3-4 rounds.
Yeah. Reggie, what do you think about quarterbacks in startups?
I think it depends on where you're picking. If I like to pick in the back end, I just have a little bit more savvy to get a build I like picking in the back end. And if I do get a top 3 pick, I normally try to trade out of the first and get some assets, possibly for the future, or set myself up to grab a guy in the second. And if I'm really feeling frosty, I'll drop all the way back to the third to collect even more assets to get a build I want. If I have enough time to prep beforehand and dissect everywhere I would like to land, yeah, I'll do it that way. But when I get like a top 3 pick, if I'm able to get a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, a Jalen Hurts, I think a Lamar Jackson, I am going to push the envelope a little bit on my QB too. Depending on the scoring setting, especially if it's 4 points per passing touchdowns. If I get Lamar Jackson, I'm going to try to get a rusher later, or see where that threshold is, how long I can wait, because I'm going to depend on that one and get depth. Know your roster settings, everybody. Yeah. If you got a 3 wide receiver start and 3 flex, your team on paper at week 1 might look better than mine, but I'm going to build that depth to fill those positions.
Yeah, for sure. So Jamie, make sure I got it right. All right. So speaking of pushing for depth, everything like that. Sometimes in startups, a guy's on the board, and if he's falling, do you fill the spot of a position in need, or do you just take the guy even if you already have a quarterback? Say you have 2 QBs, Jamie, and Justin Herbert sitting there, and the value's a full round ahead, what do you do?
Yeah, no, you draft that best player available on that board with that value. Then you could always trade for your need later. I do this all the time. So say if I'm on the clock, and I say think I need a running back, but there's like 7 wide receivers that I have over this running back. I'm going to go with that wide receiver because you could always trade for a running back even better than that one that you're drafting at that position with that guy that you already have closer to the season. And like vice versa too. If you plan on taking a wide receiver and there's a running back that falls to you that you like go ahead and take that value. So for example, I took A-Chain in this draft in the 5th round, and I have him as my 6th running back. So I didn't plan on taking him, but I couldn't pass it up.
All right, Reggie. I saw the face you gave. I don't think you completely agree with them. Go ahead.
I agree. I was gathering my thoughts together in my head, so I don't even know what exact face I made. I'm just going over in my last startup all the mistakes I made. So that's probably what that face meant. Like, have you ever been in a draft and wait? Repeat the question, please.
Do you agree or disagree with BPA over need in startups?
Yeah, like drafting the best value as opposed to
we don't mean 2 or 3 spot. Like, we're not meaning like 48 to 50. We're talking like where someone falls, a decent amount.
I'm normally probably going to take that player that has failed a lot because I draft so much, and I'd be like, oh wait, I got that guy at the 410. It's the 710 right now. If I liked him then at 410,
yep,
I gotta take this. And I'm talking that happened with Rice in January. I was taking him at 410.
Yep.
A couple of weeks ago, I was getting him 7. I could not let him pass anymore.
Yeah.
Now that I have enough of him, especially because there's such a large discrepancy of my buying points, I can't buy no more.
No,
that's too large of a gap to keep playing that game. I gotta just stick with what I have.
So I was listening to a podcast. It was the Dynasty Nerds pod, and they did a mock startup on the show. And they are a little rookie heavy. That they're just rookie fever the time of the year. But one of the guys on there ended up with, no joke, 4 QBs in the first 6 rounds because of the value fall. In the 6th round of a startup, he was still able to get J.J. McCarthy. And in Superflex, if he's there, you're going to take it. Why I'm bringing that up is you have to – I think Jamie's 100% right. I hate saying – you guys know.
I do too.
But everyone – he's already laughing. For me to say Jamie's right this much this early in the show is not right. This is not right. But Jamie is actually right. He's grinning because he knows this does not happen very often. But you need to get the guys you can get when you can get them. And if he happens to fall, why wouldn't you do that? And then you, like you said, Jamie, you can trade. But if no one's willing to trade you and say it is a 5th, say it's your 5th wideout, and your 5th wideout is as good as the guy's 3rd wideout, that's depth, like Reggie was talking about earlier for his other topic. That's depth on your freaking team. I don't care if my 5th wideout isn't even playing. If he's not playing, he ain't scoring points for you. Okay? So that's pretty much on that one. So, Reggie.
I did want to say the part about best player available and there's somebody's dropping. The player that's dropping has no value. Nobody wants them. So you can grab that player, but what are you going to – you're going to need a swing because this is like a moving goalpost all the time. But think about that. That player that's dropping is dropping for a reason. So you're right, Jamie.
Yeah. Okay, so – Reggie, you said that your last startup did not go very well. So I'm assuming you made a couple mistakes. Did you stack your mistakes or did you not take your own advice?
I let other people dictate my draft and I got thrown off. It was a bunch of things, little minor things that was going on. But when somebody picks, and this happens, I know in some of your leagues, put my head so I can't see his name. At 105 in a 2 QB startup, tier PPR, somebody chose Marvin Harrison. Wow. And I was just like, okay, JJ didn't go till 110. And then at the 208, he goes Jaden Daniels. And I had the 103. I went Patrick Mahomes. But at 210, I went Christian McCaffrey. I have 1 share in 20 teams of Christian McCaffrey. And and then is a 3rd round reversal. And I was setting myself up for Drake London. I couldn't trade out. I wanted to trade from the 103 back to the 2nd round. I couldn't. It just wasn't happening. And then the 2nd round, I got Drake London. When it comes back around, I went Saquon Barkley. And I'm going, what the hell am I doing? The board and what came when I went, I stayed stagnant. I didn't make a single trade. It was just one of those things that whereas next round, Travis Kelce to stack with Patrick Mahomes. When is this the all geriatrics team? And then I come with Kenneth Walker. I don't go this running. I did so many drafts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that's in this league. They know when I pick. So I'm picking against myself. They know if they let Will Levis pass the 7th, Reggie's going to get him. If they know.
What is your advice on not making mistake over mistake? What's your topic?
Don't compound the mistakes. Yep. And the team isn't bad. It's just not my typical team. I know somebody was like, who has his phone? Like they was like, I don't pick from that high. And I did not. I had someone picking rookies every round. And it was like, I let that bother me and take me out my game. I got to focus on my team. I can't be looking at the board and see Harrison, Daniels, Purdy's, Adunze, May. I'm like, am I going to have this guy is possibly tanking. He drafted all rookies. And I was just like, you got to let people draft their team. I get that. But I think that part kind of threw me off my game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So Jamie, what about So Jamie, what do you think about that? About not pivoting, but how do you avoid? The question I want for you in this topic is how do you try to avoid looking at everyone else's drafts and drafting for yourself? But when you do make a mistake, don't make a mistake in the third and the fifth and the sixth. How do you avoid that?
You just got to pick the players that you want. So I understand you drafted an older team, right? That's not how you normally draft.
3 are running backs in the first 6 rounds. Not like I draft.
Well, as much as we do in Dynasty, like we got tons of leagues, I'm not mad at it. I'll take that team. I'll win that year.
Yeah,
I'll get the money.
I'm close to win this year, but it's just not me. And there's no longevity. Kelsey will die on my team. McCaffrey's going to die on my team.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
like,
it's just,
I wouldn't let other drafters dictate what I do. I will still keep on my game. And if I don't want those guys, if I feel that that should be the pick, I'm not going to take them just because I think that's going to be the pick. So I'll look a few picks later and see like who's behind this, who's a guy that I like better. Even though I got CMC above ETN, should I skip CMC this round and then wait for ETN next round?
I picked Kelsey 2 picks before Andrews because I was thinking stack, but I could have got a little younger and got a top tier tight end, right?
I don't think that's horrible.
Yeah, I got them paired together, so I'll have a good stretch this year. it's a tiered PPR. It's a premium towards the tight ends.
Yeah. So speaking of Christian McCaffrey, speaking of Travis, not Trevor, that's his brother, Travis Etienne. Speaking of top end wide receivers, getting to my second cheat of the week. This is a strategy that I am telling you, not that you have to, but this is a preferred strategy of mine as of late. I am going to build through my wide receivers. So I'm either going to do one of 2 things, and more likely, if it's me personally, I'm going to do the second one more than likely. First one is to go complete heavy on wide receiver. Not saying to totally fade running back, but I'm not picking a running back close. I'm probably not picking a running back to even where Reggie took his 3rd running back in this draft that he was talking about. I'm going super wide receiver because here's the thing, Jamie, just like we always say in Dynasty, you need running backs. It's almost easier to trade for a running back than it is a top-notch wide receiver. So if you have a bunch of wide receivers, you can use that as a collateral later on. But the one that I will try to use, and me and you actually talked about this in Best Ball, not in Dynasty Startup, but like when I was talking to you about it, it's the anchor RB where you get one stud and then get your wide receivers, get that one tight end, get your QBs before you draft another running back. You might draft another running back right outside the dead zone. I know he's getting a little bit older, but if my anchor is I'll just say Travis Etienne. If you end up getting Travis Etienne, and the reason I said that me and you were talking about him, Jamie, if I'm doing a RB heavy line or anchor RB with a heavy wide receiver, and my second running back is either Joe Mixon or Brian Robinson, I am okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Nailed it with Joe Mixon.
Yes, Joe Mixon is a little bit older. I'm doing an article on him right now, so I've done a lot of research on Joe. He is going to be 28 this year. It's going a little bit up, but if I know my team, if I'm in the 6th or 7th round and my team's looking like close to winning, like if I build it and I can win now, I'm going Mixon. If I'm a little bit weaker and I can't win in the next 1 or 2 years, I'm probably going to go B-Rob only because of the youth that Brian Robinson has. Jamie, what do you think? I know how you play. What do you think about the wide receiver heavy compared to and then going the anchor?
Yeah, no, I prefer wide receiver heavy, but I let the board dictate that strategy. So if, let's say, you said you want a stud running back, right? And then anchor them with
when I say stud, I'm talking like you grab one of the top 6 or 8 guys at running back.
Well, that's the only way I would do that is if I had like a chance to get Bijan at a value. Brees Hall at a value, ETN, even Jonathan Taylor.
JT.
Those are probably the 4 that I would want to build that strategy on, and then just go in the 8th, 9th round and load up back-to-back running backs. And who knows, maybe those running backs do gain value later in the future, and you could sell them off, package them with a receiver, and like get a top 10 running back.
So, Reggie, a little bit different question for you. I know you went running back heavy in that, but you said you don't normally.
Yeah.
Would you personally rather do the anchor RB? And I'm going to add one more person to your list, Jamie. I'm adding Jahmyr Gibbs to your list.
Oh, Gibbs. Yeah, totally.
So let's just say, I know, but I knew you did. That's why I knew you wouldn't mind me saying it. So say Jahmyr is the low point, or ETN, depending where you have ETN and Jahmyr. Or are you going 0 RB and really focusing in on the other positions?
I'm literally going to lean more so 0 RB unless I can get Bijan, Brees Hall, or Gibbs at value. If not, I really like my teams when in the 8th, 9th round, 9th, 10th round, I got Najee and Aaron Jones. I'll sub-fill that with running backs, but I'm pretty much done getting wide receivers at that point. And that's what I like more. When I went running back heavy, when it got time to get wide receivers, it was gross. And when I tried to snatch up some more running backs, it was even more gross because my roster didn't need them per se. It was just, I prefer it to be 6 rounds, wide receivers straight. I may even push the envelope on quarterback depending on the league. If they are not just super active and pushing quarterbacks up for no reason, I'm going to roll the dice if I can and get one more wide receiver. I'll go tight end 12th, 13th round. I won't even grab a running back till 7, 8 out. It all depends. Is Najee there? Mixon. I would love to get, can't quite get. I'll patchwork some running backs together and trade for some later, or hope I hit the jackpot with some of the younger ones that I got my eye out on. I like hitting those gems.
Yeah, for sure. We are all on the same page on that. So before Jamie goes with his next one, we have an announcement. A show announcement. Hold on, if I can get my computer to work. There we go. My camera was being stupid and it was about to turn off. And I do not want that. All right. So we are a part of the YouTube or Going for Two YouTube channel. Go like, subscribe, do all that good stuff on YouTube, Twitch, and all that. There are shows every week. But the number one show on here, Jamie, what's it actually called exactly? Because you listen to it every week.
It's the Armchair Fantasy Show.
I knew I was missing one word in there. It's the armchair. I wanted to say Armchair Fantasy Football Show, but I knew I was missing something. The Armchair Fantasy Show, hosted by the good old boss of Going for Two, Jeff Lambert, his co-host, Ryan Searfoss. However, the show is about to go downhill for 1 week because the co-host or the guest of honor, they always have one guest. The guest of honor for tomorrow's show at 9:30 East Coast time, the same time that we go on air tomorrow. I want everyone to watch tomorrow because these 3 ugly mugs, as a combination, the Fantasy Cheat Sheet is going to be the guest of honor for the Armchair Fantasy Show. It is going to be a good time. I'm going to throw it to you, Jamie, real quick, because I know you are every show on the Going for Two Fantasy Network's #1 fan. Even though you're not on every show, you guested on every show. You pay attention to every show. You paid attention to this show before you were a host. So, Jamie, are you pumped for tomorrow? What do you think, man?
Oh, I'm excited. This is actually my second time being on this show. It's been about a year and a half, I think, since my first time on it. I watch it every week. I never miss an episode, and I'm excited to be on it.
I know that's why I wanted to ask you, because I already know how you are. The few years that I've known you, you're on every single time watching it. Even the one time that I was a guest a couple years ago, you were in the chat. So let's get straight back into the show. Jamie, what is your next one?
This is our final one, right? So
this is your productive.
Third. This is a fun one. This is one that I like to do. It's called the productive struggle strategy. So basically, in this strategy, you need patience. You got to plan properly. It's about building a team with a future. Then you got to have fun with the challenge. You got to, appreciate like the gradual improvements of your roster. It's not going to get great the first year. So basically, I like to build around young quarterbacks, definitely in Superflex, and then heavy on receivers. I try to get a top 5 tight end if I can. I'm punting running back in this one. I might not even take one till round 9, sometimes later, just because I don't plan. You're not planning on winning year 1. You're trying to get that 101 the following year. So you're going to lose year 1, and then from there, if you build it properly, you're going to compete for the next 5-6 years. And plus, you're adding these rookies every year into your lineup. So, for example, I did a startup one year, and I had the 112. It wasn't a third round reversal, so I was already at a disadvantage. I was like, okay, I'll draft. I got Trevor Lawrence that year. ETN, I believe, was really late. But then I got Breece Hall with the 101, and I won. So I went from worst to first in just 1 year. And I still made the playoffs last year. I didn't win, but I made it pretty far into the playoffs. But I'm still competing, and I just keep building a better team.
Yeah. So, Reggie, what do you think about the strategy?
I love a good productive struggle. I approach it a little bit differently. My productive struggle teams is my teams. I pay attention to schedules and matchups late in the year. I'm trying to grab players, and I do lean more to the younger players. I try to build a team that gets hot at the right time. I try to barely sneak into the playoffs, look like a pushover when you see me in your matchup, and build more so geared to age, second, third year players at most.
Yep.
I reach a little bit more to field this team because I don't want to purposely try to go for the one-on-one. It's now max points against, which in some ways, if you calculate well, you can go pretty hard to get the one-on-one by not just having a losing record, by just not scoring points with players like Michael Penix and the backup for Detroit. There's ways I've seen people doing it. Like, oh, you don't want no points. Oh, I see what you're doing. I've seen multiple people do it that way, but I just try. I've tried, and I've ended with the one-on-one. So there is so many things that could happen. I try to form a competitive team. I build around the wide receivers, but I'm also taking the Zamir White's not anymore because he's steamed up. Give me Antonio Gibson. Give me
Roshan Johnson's.
Yeah, some Roshan Johnson's who I actually believe in.
God, you played right into us. Oh, come on.
I looked today and I have too many shares. That's where I'm at now. My portfolio, I have 11 shares of Jarrett Stidham. I have 8 shares of Andre Iguodala. I know I butchered that. But when you look at that, you see your buy-ins from last year where you were just, all right, at the end of the year, you're picking up all these players. They're flatter now. Know thyself. Know thyself.
All right. So, Jamie, I'm disappointed in you. But here's the thing with how I feel about productive struggle. I'm going to keep it short, and we're going to go straight into Reggie's take. I don't like it. Here's the reason I don't like it. It's a great premise. I suck at it.
You don't have the patience.
Here's my problem. It's not that I don't have the patience. I end up going either way too young, and it's not even way too young, or because I'm trying to suck, I end up with a freaking decrepit team that freaking just got out of the senior center because I'm trying to like freaking play it a certain way, and then I end up backlogging because all the young talent, I suck at it. But one of the things you got to do in any league is pay attention to the draft board. So Reggie, will you school the students on this topic?
If you're able to draft with people that don't know you like the back of your hand, when you're looking at the board and you're 3 rounds in and it's only been 5 quarterbacks taken, that probably tells you can kind of wait on quarterback. That's one way to read the board. Another way is like, I don't know if you guys play dominoes, but there's 7 of each set. And that's how I look at it when I look at the board. All right, we all need 2 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers. We all need flex. Oh, he went 4 wide receivers straight. He's going to take a quarterback soon. I picked before him. Let me get a quarterback. Or vice versa. This guy is the 13th round. He don't have a tight end. I like David Njoku. I picked before him. Boom. Read the board and try to be predictive. And even after you pick, look and see who might come to you. And I know I said don't trade up, but you gotta be on your P's and Q's when it comes back around to you. Know what might be available, because the draft can be unpredictable. If you read the board a little bit, you can see the chance of that Drake London falling to you. And then you might like, oh, he ain't gonna make it. That's 5 picks away. He's 5 picks past ADP. Let me pivot to who I'm on if he don't. Read the board, y'all.
Jamie.
Yeah, I love that.
Hold on. I know you stink at reading, but tell me how you read the board.
Well, boards are in color, so I could read them a little bit better.
God dang it.
But yeah, no, especially if you're at like a turn and you have a guy behind you, like look at his team, see what he has. So in this draft, I was at the 11th spot. I noticed this guy already has 2 running backs, so I knew he wasn't going to take a running back. So that's why I skipped over A-Chain and went with DJ Moore, because I knew A-Chain was going to fall back to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I was in a draft the other day, and the guy in front of me, and it's a good friend, he took Jalen Wright. And with my next pick, he was at 11, I was at 12. I took, I think, Gus Bus and Raheem Mostert. And he was like, mother. And then he took, I think, Kamani Vidal. I'm like, mother. We just kept doing that for like 8 rounds because we were both on the end, and he would snipe me, and I would look at his team. I'm like, oh, I got you, mofo. It was sad. Like 6 rounds straight, we just kept doing it to each other. Like, I know who you want after me. You knew I was going to pick him. Yeah, we going to keep doing that to each other.
So you need to read the draft board. But I'm just going to tie it straight into my next one, because in doing so, in reading the draft board, if the draft board doesn't go the way you want, you got to use that P word, and that P word is pivot. And the reason I am bringing that up, I'm just going to quote a mastermind of the sport of boxing, Jamie. You can have a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yep.
And what I mean by that in drafts is you can have a plan all you want. You can plan on going 3 wide receiver first, but if the guys that you want are gone, you're going to have to pivot. And like you said, if you have a running back that fell, let's just say Jahmyr Gibbs falls, or Lawrence falls, or ETN falls. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to be water. You have to be able to move, and you have to be able to move and jab, just like in a boxing match. Because if you don't, your team is going to look stagnant. Your team is going to look either top heavy at one position, or too old at one position, or too young at one position. You're not going to have the type of team that you want if you have a plan. And if you have a plan and you're like, I am not moving from that plan, you're not going to be able to, any draft, you're going to have to pivot at one point. But if you're not willing to move your plan according to the board, even early, top 3 to 5 rounds of a draft, you're going to have to. It happens in best ball. It happens in Dynasty. I saw a draft board in best ball that I was trying to do the stack of the Philly Dallas game for week 17 correlation, Jamie, and running back or quarterback started going off the board a little bit early. I had CD Lamb. I had Jake Ferguson. So I had to reach a little bit, or no, I had CD and I had I had CD and I had Devonta Smith. So I had to reach a little bit. I went and got Dak because Hurts was already gone. And then a little bit later, I reached just a little bit and made sure that I got Ferguson. It was only like 4 or 5 pick reach. I wouldn't even consider that a reach in best ball. But I made sure that I had that stack. I'm not saying you need to get stacks. I'm just saying if you need a tight end, and Jamie loves his athletic profile tight ends.
Yep.
If you have a thought that you want to get one of those top 5 tight ends and there's a run, and if you don't get a tight end now, you're going to be stuck with the Dallas Goddards and the 11s and 12s. And that's not how you play. You need to maybe not move up, but just take a guy like McBride, not McBride, he'd be 2, but even like a Mark Andrews. If you have to take Andrews a little bit earlier to make sure that you got a top end talent, you might have to bite the bullet and do it. Jamie, real quick, let's go around really quick because I just realized what time we're at. What is your thought on having a plan? And then we'll go straight to Reggie really quick.
I mean, plans change, right? So say I didn't plan on taking a tight end early, but then like 4 of them go in a row, and then you only have 1 left, like Kyle Pitts, let's say. I'd take him just so I have that top end guy. Another thing is, like, if 5 receivers go, 6 receivers in a row, you don't have to keep following that receiver run. You could just pivot and go tight end, get one of those top tier tight ends like Laporta.
Yeah, exactly. Reggie, what do you think real quick?
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. As simple as that.
There it is.
Put something together, have some kind of idea. In that draft I had a Q set. I didn't follow it at all. So if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
That is for sure. Let's just get straight into it. Those were the cheats. Those were our main topics. It's time for the cheat of the week real quick. We're at the hour mark, but before we do that, we got to pay the bills, which means I have to put Jamie to work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jamie, you know what to do, buddy.
Right there.
Today's show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their industry-leading best ball leagues with the huge tournaments, private leagues, and pick'ems for every major sport. Sign up with our promo code GF2. That's capital letters GF2, and get a deposit match up to $100. It's as simple as that. Use our promo code GF2. Right now, you got Best Ball Mania. You also have Puppy. There's the Mastiff, which is I think $100. There's some big ones, but the other thing, basketball's going on. The finals are about to start. Hockey, NHL. You got pick'ems for that. You got pick'ems for WNBA. I know there's some Caitlin Clark. What do I want to say? Some Caitlin Clark promos out there and all that. So let's get straight into the cheat of the week. We're at the hour mark. Let's have some extra credit time for our listeners. Jamie.
Yep.
This isn't what I thought you were going to talk about when we started talking today, but I like it. Go ahead.
Yeah, mine's Jameson Williams. I believe he's going too high in startup drafts. In my current draft, he went over players like Hollywood Brown, Sutton, Christian Watson, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley, like proven players that put up points every week. So they're banking on his age and taking a leap forward, but it's still a gamble because those other players, they showed it before. Jameson Williams hasn't. I know he's got the talent, but you're taking him at his like way too high. And I don't think it's a good gamble.
So, Reggie, quick thought on Jameson Williams.
Love him. Have too much of him to keep digesting and consuming, but he was my wide receiver 1 that year. I like the count buzz. I think it's not a good match with Goff, or that's what I've thought up until this point. But I'm hopeful. I can't get much more of them. I think I have about 7 or 8 shares.
All right, so I got mixed feelings on this guy. Hardcore mixed feelings. I am not taking him. Well, you said he's being taken above who, Jamie?
Let's see. It was Hollywood Brown, who I drafted, Sutton, Christian Watson, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley.
All right, you can stop right there. I am not drafting him. I am drafting Cortland Sutton after Jameson Williams all day long. I am out on Cortland Sutton. But Cortland Sutton is an anomaly, and I'm not high on Cortland Sutton, period, anymore. He can go kick rocks.
So is it value to get Jameson at 9-10 in a Superflex startup, or is that you're not in there either?
Who's going around him? Wide receiver wise.
One pick before him was Christian Kirk. After him, Pearsall, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin.
So you're on the other side of Jamie, because Jamie would rather have Deontay Johnson over Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I am somewhat in the middle. Jamie knows that. How do I say this, Jamie? I've been burned a little bit by Deontay. I wrote a bunch of articles about Deontay being a bounce back, and then he ends up not being like Deontay and me have a strained relationship, and I'm in on him, but it's hard for me to buy him at the same time. So, yeah, go ahead, Reggie.
I was like in the ninth round, he was my third wide receiver taken, and I was shooting for like ceiling. I need somebody that is the dead zone of wide receivers. He was, I guess Deontay Johnson would have been a good wide receiver.
I mean, Deontay's good because Deontay is going to get the volume, I think. That's why, I mean, here's the thing. Deontay, okay, here, I'll give you this, and then I'll go right in.
Great point.
But I'll go right into your point, right into your player. You can talk about what you're going to talk about right after this.
Okay.
Jameson is a ceiling play. Deontay is the floor play that I will take all day at wide. You know, if I need a floor play, I'll take Jameson or Deontay all day. So me and you were talking today, Reggie. I don't know who you ended up talking. I don't know who you.
We're going to keep with Jameson. We're going to keep with Jameson, so that should help you where I'm going with this one.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
You know, they minus something in Detroit that's been spoken, and Josh Reynolds definitely passed the eye test last year when he was in Detroit. He was able to stretch the field, and he made a couple of big plays more so early in the season and made Jameson Williams being absent and obsolete not a factor, and that offense went well. Now he's over in Denver, and he's practically free. Who is he compete with? Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, the new young man, Franklin, that just came in, Tim Patrick. Why isn't you don't think Josh Reynolds can carve a role in that offense?
Oh, I do. The look Jamie knows why I gave you that look.
That's his name.
No, it's because you almost forgot Troy Franklin's name, and Troy Franklin is my baby daddy.
I did. I was just trying to focus on Josh, give Josh his flowers. I don't know what happened once they brought in the Lions Donovan Peoples-Jones later in the year. Did he fall out of favor? I remember him from the Rams. You throw him in that situation, there's no declared alpha, probably not even on the roster, maybe Troy Franklin, but I think he's going over to a situation where Cortland Sutton doesn't seem happy. And for him to go to a situation probably for the first time in his career where there is no number one defined alpha on that team, he's always been somewhere when someone is declared the number one. Who's the number one in Denver?
All right, so let me take this one. There isn't a damn defined number one, and it drives me absolutely nuts because this year, one of my favorite wide receivers going into this offseason, going into the draft, was no other than Troy Franklin. I did not think he was going to fall to 102 overall. I did not think he was going to end up on the Denver Broncos. But Jamie, will you remind this is the hard part for me, Reggie, and you have no idea what I'm about to say because you didn't know me back then. Jamie, who was my biggest crush last year, wide receiver wise, in the draft?
Oh, it was one of mine too. I think you were talking about Marvin Mims.
So here's the issue. You got Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin. Now you got Josh Reynolds. You still got Cortland Sutton, who I don't know what the heck to expect. You got Tim Patrick. The wild card is no other than Sean Payton, because with all of our luck, he's just going to throw 80 targets of little Jordan Humphrey. There is no defined one, and that's the problem. Do I think he can carve out a role? Absolutely. Is he a late round flyer in Dynasty? Yes. Could be a late round flyer in best ball? Absolutely. It's just going to be hard for me to commit to anyone that's older than 25 as a wide receiver on this roster. That's my only concern. So, Jamie, the question I have for you has nothing to do with Denver. It has nothing to do with Reynolds, because I need you to answer a question because you're in a Dynasty startup right now.
Okay.
And I know how you are with your ranks.
You have a couple of questions in chat too.
That's exactly where we're going.
Cool.
Jamie, you are answering this question, and I'm giving you the floor. Jordan Love, what are your thoughts on Dynasty rankings?
I could see them anywhere from 10 to 15. So I'm looking, would I rather have Justin Herbert or Love? I think I'd go Herbert. Jaden Daniels or Love. That's tricky. Dak Prescott, with his contract, who knows? Trevor Lawrence.
Love.
I mean, he doesn't have much upside, but Love, then he could be put him anywhere between 10 to 15, and where I just named all those people. Personally, I want to put him in my top 12, 13. And that's probably where I would have him.
Reggie, real quick, I know you go for it.
It's beautiful. I've been in a conversation with someone else recently, and he had him at QB8, and we had a discussion of who would be out to put him in an 8.
Wow.
I'm not going to disagree completely with that because he gives you a little bit rushing, and he looked really good. They got weapons. That offense is going to purr like a Hellcat. But the thing about with him is, no matter where we rank him at, you don't have to draft him there. Yep. So we were talking earlier about trading back. If you want to get some love, know your league mates. Somebody might feel just the same as you and say you trade out of the first, you pick up some assets, and you're able to get the 112, and somebody moved up, and 2-1. Take him there if that's what you feel okay doing. But just know that what's behind him. Trade back to him. We don't have to draft. We could be QB8 in Dynasty. That's not far off. Well, you have to figure out who you put behind him.
Let's do something real quick. It's either yes or no. It's no, just no giving me a reason. It's literally yes or no, because I'm going to go through a decent amount real quick. The question is, would you rather have Love over this player? And I know the answers for the first handful. I'm just doing it for practice. Josh Allen.
No.
Mahomes.
No.
Stroud.
No.
Hurts.
No.
Burrow.
Nope.
Yes.
Oh.
You'd rather have Love over Burrow?
I would.
Okay.
I have major concerns about Burrow's injury history, and the ability to throw a tight spiral isn't everything. Yep. But these freak injuries add up.
Lamar.
Nope.
Herbert.
Nope.
Caleb.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Richardson.
Nope.
I would want Richardson over, so what did I say? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels.
No.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So
you forgot Kyler Murray.
Well, Kyler Murray, I gave you the top. I literally gave you everyone but number 11 in a certain company's rankings because
I got Murray in my top 10.
These guys have Murray at 13. But that's not too far off.
Yeah.
So I was having a hard time figuring out who to talk about. And this is I don't like talking about this player, but I'm going to talk about him, Jamie. because this certain player has gotten a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of hate in the past month after being drafted. And I do agree with a lot of the hate towards the team that drafted him. But when you look down and when you get to it, you got to take certain things into consideration for startups. Not just startups, even rookie drafts. You got to take in startability. You got to take in your plan. Like you said, if you have a productive struggle, if you got certain things like that, if you're going 0 RB, if you're going QB heavy, if you're going anchor QB and then weak QB. But the other thing you got to take into the fact is if a player is drafted high in the real NFL draft, you got to just sometimes suck it up and take that into consideration too. Even though I don't agree with the pick, Michael Penix is going too low in Dynasty Startups. And part of the reason I say that is he is a perfect candidate for the productive struggle, Jamie, because if you draft Michael Penix and let him sit on that bench, and if one of your tiebreakers for the number 1 overall picks is max points 4, he is getting you 0 to 50 this year if Kirk Cousins can stay healthy. He isn't going to put you on that roster. He is going to be a roster spot. He's going to have that clog even on your taxi, but he's not going to give you points. But then in a year or two, he could be your QB2 on your dynasty team. He is going too low. He's getting disrespect. It was right here, and it's gone a little too far. The train has gone over to the top of the mountain, and instead of turning around and going back down the track, it went over where there's no track. Reggie, I'm going to give this one to you first.
I agree, especially if you're in a productive struggle. I got him 8-3, and my whole purpose is taxi squad not coming off. He's one of those players that can possibly only increase in value over the next year. And I am a firm believer they make this move because it may not be all roses this season for Kirk Cousins in that Achilles. It's an amazing insurance policy, and you're able to. Oh, that's what I want to say about Jordan Love. The year it was to draft Jordan Love was last year. So everyone get it. Listen what our host is saying, our Grace's host. Like get a year ahead of in Dynasty of value bumps, because you won't be able to say he touches the field. He looks amazing. You won't be able to get him in the 8th, 9th round or wherever people are allowing him to fall. Don't let him fall in the Kirk Cousins owner's hands in your rookie draft, because that person is going to be itching to knock on your door for a trade. Play keepsake. It's chess, not checkers.
Yep. Jamie, you're the one that gave me this idea, so give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just drafted him in the 11th round of my startup.
That's what I'm saying.
That is insane.
Derek Carr went.
That is insane.
Derek Carr went a few spots ahead of him.
We're done. Stop. We're done. Throw in the towel. We're done.
Aaron Rodgers went a full round ahead of him.
I'm okay with Aaron Rodgers going ahead of him. Not okay.
So, I mean, you got to think Aaron Rodgers has 1 year, maybe 2. He's coming off.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is no one's drafting Aaron Rodgers not thinking that, like, when you draft Aaron Rodgers, what you're getting. That's all I'm saying with Aaron. With Derek Carr, I know what I'm getting, and it's crap.
Yeah. Yep. So, I didn't want to take Penix because I haven't really been drafting a lot of them, but I saw the value, and I had to take it because if he's a starter, he's going probably in the 7th, 8th round. I would say probably around the Will Levis's, the Youngs, the Nixes, right?
I'm taking him right behind Bryce Young if I'm in a startup right now. If he was the starter.
Yeah. So
I'm taking him over Levis.
Yeah, so that's 5 rounds right there that you're getting a value on him, and all you have to do is wait for an injury or for Cousins just to move on in 2 years.
Exactly.
That's great value where you got him at, and you can double down. Throw in some Jordan Travis, who sit on your bench all year, won't score you no points.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking of doing maybe like a Minshew later, someone that could be a starter.
Sam Hartman. He had so many snaps. I forget his college, but he's on the Commanders. They
Yeah.
picked him up, and he's highly experienced. Jaden Daniels might get injured. Who they
Yep.
got? Marcus Mariota. Put him on your radar, y'all.
And there's
Sam
another
Hartman.
buying on the Patriots. They just got a
Joe
rookie
Milton.
guy. So they got Jacoby Brissett. That could get you some-
Okay.
Wait. I got a question. There's news you guys didn't mention. Was I on last week? Were we on? Oh, what do y'all think about Malik Cunningham switching positions to wide receiver?
All right, we'll get to that in 1 sec. We'll bring that up. We'll bring that on outros, okay? Jamie,
Yes, sir.
there's rules at school.
I just broke them.
Okay, I'm gonna treat this like a Catholic school for a second. Where's the ruler so I can smack your knuckles? You know his name is not allowed to be brought up on this show.
Oh yeah, I meant Spencer Rattler. My bad.
Shut up! You know I like Spencer Rattler. All right, everyone. It has been a great show. We're gonna get into outros. In the middle of your outro, give me a 3-sentence answer on why Malik Cunningham should be a wide receiver / NFL quarterback like Antoine Randall L. Reggie, take it away.
Kickoff return rules, and the young man is electric. Give him a shot. We go get out of here. Going for 2. The cheat sheet. We had a lot of fun. You can find me at the Network One on Twitter. That's TH33, the word network, and one. Also on Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. I had a blast.
Jamie, go.
Yeah, find me at Jamie Perogue all over. I keep it simple with my name. As for Malik Cunningham, just his speed alone.
All right, so here's the thing. You can put both of these guys in the backfield on a team that doesn't have a lot of weapons in the backfield right now. Don't get me wrong. You got Derrick freaking Henry. But what I'm saying is, besides Derrick Henry, they don't have much behind them. You got Rashid Ali, who I think I love Rashid Ali. But Derrick Henry's getting older. You might need some outside runs. You don't have that ability right now. I do think he is could be a decent quarterback backup for that. I think it's very interesting what they're doing. So I think keeping him on the roster leaves you the versatility. That's the biggest thing. And like you brought up, Reggie, I didn't even think about it till you brought it up. And I'm not trying to just harp on new rules or anything like that. There's going to be some weird crap with this new kickoff rule that we're not expecting yet. You know, they're not the only team that said they're going to put their backup quarterback or different positions that we're not expecting. There's going to be passes. There's going to be some. I think it's going to. The special teams coordinators are loving it right now because they're able to practice stuff in the preseason with the rookies and OTAs. But you know where to find me. Drop the Mike FF on Twitter. Everything else, got some stuff in the works. I'll bring that up when it's time to bring it up. Other than that, have a nice night, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks, and peace out.